The moment you've all been waiting for. Welcome back to the Fourth Down Focus mock draft 1.0. And this time we're actually going to do more than one. We only did one last year. And hello, everyone. It's been a while, hasn't it? We said we were going to do more than one mock draft this year. The last one we did was in January, was it?
January the 11th.
January the 11th. It is now April the 22nd, is it? 21st, 22nd? The mock draft is in 2 days. No, the real draft, the real draft is in 2 days. This is the mock draft.
The real draft tomorrow, mate.
Yeah, we promised one more, and here it is. Oh, yeah, it's Wednesday, not Tuesday. Yeah, the real draft's tomorrow. I'm all over the place here. I've not done this in a while. What I say. So we got no Kian because he's apparently got other things to do. That's not true. That's a lie. He doesn't want to do a mock draft. That's the real reason. I'm also going to give a quick shout out to some friends me and Kian made while we were in Vegas in the Allegiant Stadium. Thomas and Connor, this one's for you. I know you've been waiting for this. We got them to subscribe to the channel, and we've not uploaded since. So this is for you. My friends from Michigan. I believe they said they were from Michigan.
You're asking the wrong person.
I let them too. So, James, it's mock draft time. Would you like? I mean, I was going to say, would you like to go first? But there's no who cares. We all know who's going first.
To be fair, I also said as well, I do argue one point with mock drafts is when you do them in January and stuff, a lot changes between January and draft day. So I guarantee you, well, I haven't looked back at ours from January, but I imagine it's going to be very different.
There's probably like half of these players, maybe not even in the first round. I'm not sure. I can't remember what we said, but here it is. We've also got a couple trades in this one. I've got a couple. I think James said he has like 5.
I've got about 5, yeah. So we said the last time we did no trades, we just did straight up who's taking who. But as it's before the draft, now we have sort of a better idea on who might do what. So we both run in a few trades. But we'll start with number 1. The Las Vegas Raiders on the clock at number 1, Max, and they will take
Diego Pavia. Taking Fernando Mendoza, obviously. Even if they have brought in Kirk Cousins, he might play a few games while Mendoza learns behind him. But Mendoza is obviously the pick, and that was definitely in our last draft as well. Nothing has changed.
That one definitely hasn't changed. That's probably the only pick that hasn't changed.
This one has been penciled in since the Raiders being the first pick was penciled in.
So. Yeah, I mean, especially when any doubt of quarterbacks got taken away when a certain quarterback screwed over the Jets and went back to school rather than going to the New York Jets. That's always
fun. Was probably in our last draft, actually.
He definitely was our second pick in the last draft.
That's outrageous. Wow.
And to be fair, last time we did this draft order wasn't even set. It was very different, I believe, last time we did this, because I think we were third on the clock.
It was pre-Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we were like second in the draft. I think it was before the season even. I don't even know, but
yeah, I think we might have been like third or something when we did the last one. Yeah. But anyway, this is the real order, and this is 100% accurate. Gonna happen.
Yeah. Fernando Mendoza is always going to happen. I've seen a few things about trading down. I feel like they would need a ridiculous amount of compensation. I'm talking like 3-4 first-round picks to even consider it. I don't think they should. Raiders are notoriously terrible at drafting anyway, so you'd rather just take someone who I don't think has got a massive ceiling in the NFL, but he has a high floor. You know, I can't see him. Yeah, I just see him being a serviceable quarterback no matter what.
And he's a perfect fit for Vegas because he's not going to be tempted to go gambling, going out to strip clubs or whatever. He's a nerd. He's boring, but that is perfect for Vegas. So
they can Kirk Cousins as well. So that'll be a nice dynamic. That's pretty much where the career I expect Mendoza to have. So it's probably perfect.
I mean, it's not a bad career to have, Kirk Cousins. You know, he's been solid.
One of the most. Was he the highest paid quarterback in NFL history? I think.
Yeah, he needs to get the same agent as Kirk Cousins. He'll be fine.
He's a lot of money to be fairly average if he has a career with Kirk Cousins, which is fine with anyone, I suppose. But we'll move on to the second pick. Finally, from now on in, I honestly don't know, but the New York Jets are on the clock, Max. Who have you got them taking with the second overall?
I feel like this one will also be the same, and then we might have some difference. Arvel Reese, the linebacker / edge rusher out of Ohio State. I feel like a lot of people think this is the player here. It might not be their biggest need, but in terms of upside potential, and well, it is also a need because the Jets need everything. I feel like you can't really go wrong by taking Reese. He might not be the most polished player right now. He only had like one season as a starter for Ohio State, but what he showed in that season was just pure potential. And I don't think they can pass up on that in this position. Plus, they've got a lot of picks in next year's draft as well, so they don't have to worry about like a quarterback or anything here. Although, who are they taking at 2 with a quarter? It's not Ty Simpson, so I'm saying Alvaro Reese for the Jets here at 2.
I'm not actually going to agree with you. I've got a different angle, and I said in the first mock draft before he was even on this high on people's boards, that David Bailey was the best consensus player in the entire draft, and I think the Jets are going to take him at 2. He's a game-wrecking edge rusher. The only argument I have for Reese, I think he's considerably better than Alvaro Reese, but the versatility of Reese might lean the Jets that way, that he can play multiple positions, and they need obviously a lot of help. But I just think when you have a player like Bailey on the board, he's just that good. I just don't know if that's something you can pass on. So for me, I'm going to go Bailey. I would not be surprised as Alvaro Reese. It seemed to have been penciled in for a while that it was going to be him. But in recent weeks, there's been a lot more murmurs around David Bailey going to the Jets. So I'm going to go Bailey at 2 to the New York Jets.
That's interesting.
At 3, we have the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. Max, who do you think they take at number 3?
You know what? Based on, I am actually going to make a trade here, but it doesn't change who these two teams are going to take. It changes when they're going to take them. I'm going to have the Saints trading up here into 3 with the Cardinals. I don't think it'll be a huge package because, I think the Cardinals might want to move out of this spot. I think it's a bit of a weird spot. I think the Saints are going to trade up to 3 here and take David Bailey. Just because I've got them in their original spot on this mock draft taking Bailey, but after that, I am not entirely sure he makes it to 8. And I feel like that's a player they could want. Chase Young, he started out well, got injured. He's sort of making his way back into being a pretty decent player. Granderson's okay, but I'd say more of a rotational edge. But David Bailey, like you said, is an absolute game wrecker, plays with a lot of power. And I feel like that could certainly help the Saints. And I feel like the Cardinals, like I said, wouldn't mind trading out of the spot, get a bit of compensation. And it might not be the only trade they make in my mock draft. So,
I'm going to agree with you in half a sense. I'm also having the Cardinals trading out of this pick. But I've got the Commanders coming up for 3 here. I've done it. I've got the trade package for you. I've gone Commanders giving up pick 7, pick 147, a future 2nd and a future 4th to trade up to the 3rd overall pick with the Cardinals. And I think they're going to take Jeremiah Love with the 3rd overall pick. There's been rumors that this is the guy, this is the best player in the entire draft. The Commanders they need a run game so desperately. We've seen it the last couple of seasons that has been their shortfall. They just don't have a run game, haven't for a while. Even last year, you had a bit of promise from Bill Krusky-Merritt, but at the same time, do you see him as a starter for the rest of his career? No, probably not. You see him as like a 2 to play in certain downs. So I think they're going to take Jeremiah Love. I think they give up, it's a lot of conversation in a way, but I feel like you're not giving up a future 1st to do that trade, which I feel like would be a good deal in the end if they can get out of not trading a future 1st. Future 2nd is a lot to give up. But I think Jeremiah Love, the Cardinals made it obvious they want someone to come up and offer them a package. I feel like they know that they don't want to pick here. And it makes sense, get some compensation, fall further on the board and still get a decent player. So that means I'd have them picking at 7 anyway, which I still think is, is a very good position to be in. But I just think the Commanders need a run game so desperately. I think this is the time to go and make a splash and go get the best player in the draft, potentially, especially on offense. He's definitely the best offensive player in the entire draft, in my opinion. But at the same time, it might just be me with copium praying that someone else does it before we get to the board and we make that cock up of taking Jeremiah Love. But I think the Commanders could trade up and take.
Someone is making considerable noise outside my house right now, and I don't know if it's coming through onto this, but if it is, I apologize. Anyway, so that is the Saints/Commanders pick done for us. Cardinals moving down for both of us. Number 4 with the Titans, James.
This is where I have Alvaro Reese. I was tempted for the Titans to trade down here, but I feel like when you have a player that versatility for a team that needs basically everything, they could, I think, take Alvaro Reese. I think if Love is here and no one trades up with the Cardinals, especially, or they don't trade up for Love, I think that's who they take. I feel like they'd be stupid not to. This seems to be all they're known for, really, is having random spawning of Hall of Fame running backs, the Titans. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took Jeremiah Love, but I feel like my board he's not there, so I think you go best player available if you're the Titans, and at that point, to me, that is Arvell Reese. So I have the Titans taking Arvell Reese with the 4th overall pick.
Well, Arvell Reese is gone on my board, so they are taking the best player available on my board, which is Jeremiah Love. Pollard isn't that guy anymore. Ty J. Spears, don't know if he's ever going to be a top running back in this league, running back 1. So take the best player on the board, arguably. Obviously, running back, taking it quite high, but this guy is insanely talented. I think on paper, he might even be more talented than Genty, who went at 6 last year. So, I just feel like they need a run game badly. Someone like the Cardinals, if they stuck at 3, could have maybe taken him, but I feel like they've got more pressing issues and they're in a very tough division. Is a running back going to get them anywhere in that division? Probably not. So, yeah, Jeremiah Love to the Titans for me at 4.
Yeah, I think it's best player available for the Titans at that point. I just don't see. I think Arvell Reese is going to go in the top 5. I can't see him falling there much further than maybe even. I think 7 is absolute floor for where he goes in this draft. He's a very talented player. But we'll move on to the first of our 2 teams, Max. We're going to go back to back here, but first I'll start. The New York Giants are on the clock with the 5th overall pick, and there's been a lot of rumors about this pick. As I said, Jeremiah Love is apparently really on our board. I really hope we don't do it. We saw it with Saquon. It just doesn't work. It doesn't change anything. I'm not saying Jeremiah Love. It's not a bad thing. I'm not. It makes it sound like Jeremiah Love's terrible, and I would hate to have him. He's an unbelievable prospect. So he's probably the best prospect in the entire draft. I mean, I'm sure I can't think of a better running back prospect since Saquon, really, that, just showing the levels that Jeremiah Love has in college. But for me, and this is probably not a popular one, I'm going Caleb Downs with the 5th overall pick for the New York Giants. And I know there's a lot of stuff about, you don't take a safety this high, you don't do that. But I just don't think this is someone you can pass up on and risk not falling to us again when we come back in at 10. He could fall that far, but I just don't think he will. And I feel like out of all the players that we could pick here, he's the one that I'd least want to gamble on. I feel like we need to have him as a Giant by the end of the year. He's just unbelievable. He will transform our defense. We need secondary so desperately. Our safety options last year were terrible. The whole DB line was terrible, absolutely awful. So I feel like we need to fix that straight away. And I'm going to go with Caleb Downs here at 5. I can imagine there's a lot of noise about Jordan Tyson. I think it's too high for someone with his injury issues. Sonny Styles, I don't hate, but at the same time, I don't think we need a linebacker as much as we need DB help. And I think his athleticism carries his sort of prospect. He's an unbelievable freak athlete, but at the same time, I feel like his play wasn't as good at certain points. So I'm going Caleb Downs at 5 to the New York Giants.
That is, you're the Giants fan, so you know what you did more than me. We'll put a pin in everything you just said and come back to that at 10, I suppose. Because you said you don't think that Downs could fall that far. I'm taking Sonny Styles because I think he definitely won't fall to 10. So I'm taking Styles for you at 5 here. Because although you don't need linebacker help maybe as much, you do need it. And he will instantly walk into that linebacker room and probably be the best one there. Absolute freak athlete. Didn't miss a tackle all season apart from one in the Miami playoff game, which I'm still not quite over as a Buckeye. But we'll move past that. So yeah, I think Styles for you here is a very good pick. And like I said, we'll come back to the Giants at 10 and see who are taking there.
I will say, I feel like if we don't take Jeremiah Love, we can't mess this up, in my opinion. I feel like if you take one of Downs, you take Styles, or you take Maui Goa even, I'd still be buzzing with any 3 of them. I think they're all unbelievable. So I think as long as you don't take Jeremiah Love, you can't mess it up at 5 for us. Either way,
I think Love will be off the board before he gets to the Giants anyway.
I think he will as well, which is what I'm hoping happens, because I really just don't want that decision to even be possible, because I feel like we will just grab at him. Because I think one of our journalists said he can't see Harbaugh passing on a player like that if he's there. So hopefully he's not there at 5. But speaking of our team, 6 is the Cleveland Browns, Max. And who have you got them taking?
Cleveland, my beloved Browns. I don't know if this is the smartest pick, and this isn't exactly what I want. I wouldn't be furious, but it's definitely a position we need. I just don't know about the player. I've got us taking Jordan Tyson at 6. Obviously, Carnell Tate's right there, and apparently we're quite high on him. But I have a feeling that we're going to take a sort of boom or bust gamble in this spot because it's us. And also, there's the links with his brother playing for the Cavs. I can already see the social media posts there. The Tyson brothers both playing in Cleveland. I can already see it happening. So yeah, if he stays clear of injuries, which I'm not entirely sure he can, he will be an incredible pick, and he is the best wide receiver in this draft class. But he's certainly not the safest option because of the injury history. I mean, he's quite tough. He played on a torn hamstring, but that's not really what you want. You want your best players to be at 100%. But we seriously need wide receiver help. So, I mean, Tyson or Tate here, I'd be happy. I'd maybe be more happy with Tate just because it's a safer pick. But if the Tyson pick pays off, I'll be extremely happy. We could also take tackle, but I think I'm going to wait on that. Well, I will wait on that, as we'll see later down the draft. I just feel like there's better tackle depth in that sort of late first round than there is wide receiver. So, Jordan Tyson, you are a Brown.
Yeah. I will preface as well. I don't know how you've gone at this mock draft, but I've gone more on what I think will happen more than necessarily what I want. In a way, there's one pick where I've gone more what I want than what I think will happen. But I've gone Carnell Tate here at 6. I think it's a safer option. I get the theory was sort of behind boom or bust. Tyson is the better player. I think he's the best. Without the injury concerns, he would potentially even go in the top 5. I really don't think he'd slip past many teams. He wasn't so injury prone, but you have to look at that. I feel like you can't ignore something like that. So I'm going to go Tate. I think they're both very close. I think all three. My wide receiver one isn't even going to go in the top 10, which I think is a crime. But we'll get onto him later. But I think Tate is up there as well. He's a very, very talented receiver. You know, you can't really. I think it's a sort of can't miss prospect in a way. Like I just don't see him being bad in the NFL. I think he's going to be productive no matter where he goes. Obviously, there's questions over quarterback playing in Cleveland with a certain Shedeur Sanders not being great.
Hey,
but
I want to slander on this podcast.
He is terrible. But I feel like when he's got someone like Tate to throw to alongside, you know, you've got players in that offense which sort of caught, you know, that Harold Fanning caught on a bit at the end of the year as well. So I think it's a safe pick, get an offensive weapon. So I'm going to give you Carnell Tate at 6.
I would be happy with Carnell Tate, and it'd make me a lot more at ease taking a safer pick like that. But I don't know. I just feel like you said we're going off what we think will happen. I think the Browns will be a bit risky. I mean,
I can't be surprised in the slightest.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got him and he spent the rest of his career on the bench injured, to be honest. But let's just see. Number 7.
So for you, this is the Washington Commanders. For me, this is the Arizona Cardinals. So I'll start as the one that's a bit more out there. Obviously, I have the Cardinals trading down. I don't think they go down again. I think they stick here and they take Francis Marigoa out of Miami. He's one of the few prospects I sort of, during the playoffs especially, I sort of just, I think one of the playoff games, I just watched him and on offense. Like I was just not even paying attention. I was just watching him, just having a look. And I generally don't think he missed a single block in like the entire game. There was no pressure from his side at all. He is the best tackle in this draft by a landslide, in my opinion. I feel like as the Cardinals now, when you trade down to this position, just take a safe option, take someone who's going to improve your team. And as much as you know, you can go with the flashy offensive players. In my board, Sonny Styles is still here. So would they take him if they? I don't think so. I think you go safer. I think you go Marigoa. Wouldn't be surprised if they did end up taking Sonny Styles because on my board he's still here. But I'm going to go Francis Marigoa out of Miami. The first tackle off the board, and for me in my draft will be the first one for a good couple of picks. And I think there is a massive gap between him and the next one down.
So on my board, this is still the Commanders, and as I just said, all that good stuff about him, Carnell Tate doesn't fall any further here because the Commanders' receiver room, although you said about their run game stinking, their receiver room is bad. It's really, outside of Scary Terry, it's really not good. They've got some role players in there and a few veterans, but no one that's going to make a Commanders fan think good thoughts during game day, let's say. So I'm going Carnell Tate here. Like we just said, it's a very safe pick. I don't think they can go wrong with that. It'll be a great receiver too, probably his entire career in this league. I feel like he got overshadowed a bit because he was playing next to the absolute phenom that is Jeremiah Smith all season. And obviously you're going to get overshadowed playing next to him. But Carnell Tate is still very, very capable and very, very good. And I'm just going to quickly go back to back here because now I've got the Cardinals pick at 8. Okay. And I'm also taking Francis Marigoa for them. For pretty much the exact same reasons that you just said to save a bit of time here. I don't really have anything to add. Yeah,
fair enough. At 8, and I have another trade here. So who's even on the board at 8? Who's supposed to be? Is it supposed to be the Saints?
Saints.
The Saints, yeah, right. I have, and this really kills me. I don't want this to happen at all because he's an unbelievable player. But I have the Dallas Cowboys coming up to 8 with Sonny Styles on the board, giving up pick 12 and a future second-round pick to move from 12 to 8 and to take Sonny Styles with the 8th overall pick in the draft. I feel like he just screams Dallas Cowboys to me. I don't know why. And I feel like if he's still there at 8, only giving up a second-round pick to get a player of that caliber, not even this year's second as well, a future second-rounder, I feel like it's a no-brainer for Jerry Jones, although we have known him to not exactly be the smartest with certain decisions. But I feel like this is where you go make a splash and you get a player like Sonny Styles, who I only think will fall if the Commanders trade up for Love. I feel like if Love gets taken in the top 5 by someone else maybe, or if the Titans could technically take Sonny Styles, in that case, maybe Alvell Reese goes here and to the Cowboys. I'd still trade up and make that trade for Alvell Reese as well. But for me, on my board, Sonny Styles falls to 8. So I have the Dallas Cowboys trading from 12 to 8 with the Saints, which means the Saints go down in my draft rather than you going up to 3. On my board, they go down to 12. And I have Sonny Styles being a Dallas Cowboy, which would absolutely kill me. But I feel like that's what I think might happen.
If he's still on the board past where I've picked him, then I could absolutely see the Cowboys trading up to steal him from like 7 or 8 maybe. So yeah, I can get behind that. Pick 9, the Chiefs. I feel like we might have gone the same one on this one. He's still on both our boards, and I feel like it kind of makes sense, especially with some of his recent off-the-field antics. I feel like he might fit in with the Chiefs very well. However, if we ignore that, because we don't want to get into all that on this podcast, we would never talk about something controversial on this podcast. Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami to the Chiefs. It's a very good fit. He's a very good player. He's got some, I mean, he already had the issues of having T-Rex arms. Now he's also got some off-the-field stuff, but I don't think it'll stop him going in the top 10. And, I mean, he'll make great friends with Rashee Rice. So that's, team bonding there straight off the bat. And, they could use someone to play on the other side with George Karlaftis. So it's a pretty good pick for them in more ways than one.
Yeah, I've gone Ruben Bain. I feel like had the recent things not come out, he wouldn't even make it past Tennessee at 4. But now they have come out. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a steal for the Chiefs at 9. When I watched that game of Marigoa, I also watched Bain on the other side of the ball. So the two players I was focusing on during that game. And he's just very, very explosive. He gets off the line so quickly. And he said the arms might be an issue, but we've seen edge rushers with smaller arms go through and they've been okay. So I feel like he'll be all right. And I feel like if you're the Chiefs and Ruben Bain Jr. is staring at you at 9, I don't really see who else you could go. Maybe Mansour Delane is there as well. Not a bad option. But I feel like if you have a player like Ruben Bain sat there in front of you at pick 9, I just don't see. I think teams would be calling definitely to trade up to try and take him off them. But I think they'll stick and they'll take Ruben Bain with pick 9 as well. And now we're back to the Giants, obviously, after the recent trade of Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals. They, for some stupid reason, gave us a 10th overall pick for a 28-year-old D tackle with half a sack last year. And we're back on the board. And this is probably the only pick in the draft where I've gone more what I want than what I think will happen. We've seen a lot in the media recently about Jordan Tyson being visited. I think Scoa went to see him during the off-season things, some of the camps and stuff. He went to see him, had dinner with him as well. So that's what I think will happen. I don't want it to. So I've got Mansour Delane, and I'm doubling down on DB Help in the first round as our 10th overall pick from LSU, the best corner in the draft by an absolute mile, especially with recent injury concerns of German McCoy, which we'll get onto, because he's definitely fallen down my board after that. As much as I love him as a Vols fan, he's not close to Mansour Delane. And I don't think it's an overreaction to draft 2 in the first 2 top 10 picks. I feel like that changes our defense overnight from a terrible unit to all of a sudden we have a great front line. Let's pair it with a great sort of set of DBs. You bring in a new corner to go with Adebo. We brought in Newsome as well. So, shapens that up. And then obviously you get Caleb Downs in at safety to go with like Tyler Nubin. I don't think that's a bad unit at all. So I'm going Mansour Delane, but I think it'll be Jordan Tyson at 10 if both players are still there.
So you're going Delane, but
I'm going Delane. as a copium, I want that to be the pick, and I don't want us to draft an injury-prone wide receiver.
So double dipping on defensive backs, as I pretty much alluded to earlier, I think Caleb Downs will fall to 10. The only other team I could see maybe taking him ahead of you is the Commanders.
I think the Chiefs could take him at 9 if he's there.
I'd maybe, possibly. They do also need defensive back help, which I haven't got for them in this first round. I'll spoil that with their second pick already. But yeah, Caleb Downs for all the reasons you said. And also we saw what Harbaugh did with Kyle Hamilton. He could do this again with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs apparently has insane football IQ, and he's a good leader on the Buckeyes defense. I feel like the Giants need a player like that, especially after losing Dexter Lawrence, who was definitely a bit of a leader on that defense. He's been there a while now. Although I know you're quite happy about the trade. I can see why, but in terms of, personality, he was definitely a leader on that defense.
I'm happy about what we got. I obviously don't want us to see a trade one of our better defensive players, but after the season he just had, I don't think you can turn down a 10th overall pick. Also, he didn't want to be there, and Harbaugh made it very clear: if you don't want to be here, you're gone. Like you're out the door. So I think, yeah.
Would you say I don't think you take an interior defensive player at 10, but would you say there's a world where you trade down with that pick and maybe get a Caden McDonald?
Not Caden McDonald.
Well, I only have one interior defensive player going in this first round.
So I'll spoil my Giants mock draft. I have us taking a player like Caden McDonald outside the first round at the start of round 2. I also taking Miller as well from Georgia as well, actually, or Caleb Banks. I feel like one of them three will be available at our pick later in that second round. So I feel like we don't need to do that. The only player I'd potentially trade down, I'd go a couple of picks and take Vega Ione. I feel like he could even be the pick at 10, and I wouldn't be angry at a choice like that. We need offensive line help so badly, and he's unbelievable at the guard position. So I feel we need a guard more than we need a tackle. So especially with Illuminor now signing back on with him and AT on either side, I don't think tackle's really an issue anymore. But guard certainly is. So I think Vega Ione, I wouldn't be angry if we picked him with 10 or traded back a couple of spots. Because I don't think you can go too far back, because you'll see in a minute how far I have him going, and it's not much further than this. So he's an intriguing one with Ione.
I personally wouldn't. I know I just brought it up, but I wouldn't trade down that pick to get an interior defensive player. You can definitely get like a Caleb Banks, a Peter Woods in the early second round. So I wouldn't. I was just seeing what you thought about that.
Yeah.
So we're done with the Giants. I took Caleb Downs, you took Mansour Delane. On to the Dolphins at 11. I've changed this around a few times. I've gone corner, I've gone receiver. Today, I'm going with Spencer Farner. They don't massively need a tackle, although he could play there. But I think he could definitely play guard for them, which is a need. Who is playing quarterback for the Dolphins this season?
It's a great question. I swear, did they not sign someone?
I know they've got Quinn Ewers. Is Zach Wilson still there?
Zach Wilson's still there.
I mean, I wouldn't want to start either of those, but unless I've missed something, that is what they're rocking with right now. I would maybe focus on defending and blocking for whoever is under center. And also, they know that this isn't like a 1-year thing. They've been selling players like left, right, and center. This is a project, and I feel like having a good offensive lineman that can move around, he can definitely probably play center, guard, and tackle if you needed him to. I feel like that's a good piece to get early on, and they have got another pick in this draft now after the trade with the Broncos, I believe it was. Yeah. So I think Farner's quite a smart pick there. Not the flashy pick that some Dolphins fans want to see, but it makes a lot of sense to me. So Spencer Farner out of Utah at 11 for me.
Yeah, all the reasons you said about this guy at pick 5, I think he won't fall much further than this. I've got Jordan Tyson going to the Dolphins. I think they'll be really happy if he falls this far. I think injury concerns are what will keep him out of the top 10 for me. I think, Dolphins won't complain. They get a really, really talented wide receiver in Jordan Tyson. I think, as I said, upside-wise, he's probably the highest of the 3. So I don't hate that pick at all for the Dolphins, and I think it's a safe one to make when you've got whoever's quarterback. At least give him someone to throw the ball to. With Tyreek and Waddle now gone as well, give him someone to throw to, because that wide receiver room is the worst in the NFL at the current moment in time. So
God, yeah, I forgot about Waddle.
Waddle's gone. Tyreek's gone. There's no one to throw the ball to anymore. For the love of God, just get them wide receivers. I've gone Jordan Tyson.
I've not given them a wide receiver in the first round because I forgot about Waddle. Oh well. It's fine. They can get one in round 2. There's plenty of wide receivers. They can get Skylar Bell or something. I don't know. Zachariah Branch.
Chris Bell, Chris Brazel.
They could get a Chris Bell because there's injury concerns with him, but
I think Brazel will be a sleeper pick later in the second round, later in the first round as well, because they apparently GMs rate him really, really highly, and I can see it from a Vols. As a Vols fan, I'll always be biased, but I think he's definitely got the upside to be an unbelievable wide receiver in the NFL. But at 12, obviously, this is where I'm the Saints in this situation. Obviously, you're still the Dallas Cowboys, so I'll go first. And for me, I mentioned him sort of without saying his name earlier. In my opinion, the best wide receiver in the entire draft. I'm giving the Saints Mekhi Lemon at 12, and I think they'll be absolutely buzzing with that pick. I just see the similarities to Amon-Ra St. Brown in every way possible in his game. I think he's going to be one of the best slot receivers in the NFL after a couple of years. I just love Mekhi Lemon's prospect. I think someone's like, what's a prospect you'd argue like anything for? And for me, it's Mekhi Lemon. I wouldn't even hate the Giants taking it even as high as 5. Like I love the guy as a prospect. I think the upside is so high. So for me, out of USC, Saints get Mekhi Lemon, and they still get a very good offensive weapon and a decent amount of picks from the Cowboys to trade down. So that's what I'm going to do for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. The only reason that I'd say Mekhi Lemon falls out of the top 10 is simply because he's not really an outside receiver, and I don't think he will be. He's more of an inside guy, which has slightly less value, I'd say, but he's not going to fall much further for me. But I've got the Cowboys here. I think they'd be absolutely ridiculous not to take Mansour Delane. Well, he's still on my board. They need corner help. He's the best one in the draft by, like you said, probably by a mile. So Mansour Delane out of LSU for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and 13. I'm sorry, I'm going to absolutely mess it up again because I'm going with another trade. And I forgot to even screenshot what the package was, which is helpful. It's the only one I haven't done. I have the Detroit Lions trading up with the LA Rams for pick 13 for a player that they've been very, very high on at times during this draft process. I've seen a lot of people make this same trade in their mocks. I'm going second tackle off the board for me, I believe. I don't think I've taken him to Marigoa. I'm going with Caden Proctor out of Alabama to be the Lions pick. I think I only gave up like a 3rd round pick to do this trade. It wasn't much because obviously the Rams are only fall down to 17 anyway. Don't think the Rams need anyone desperately at the minute, so I feel like they can afford to just trade down and just harvest picks off of people. So I think they'll do that here, and I think they'll trade out this pick, especially with McCoy's injury issues. I feel like that would have been my pick had that not all come out in recent weeks. I think they would have stuck and taken him, but now I think they'll be more open to draft trading down, and I'm going Caden Proctor as my tackle too. I think he's climbed up my board massively over time, so I'm going with Caden Proctor for my second alignment and the Lions pick at 13.
That is very interesting, and you'll see why when we get to the Lions pick. I've got, as you were talking about, your favorite receiver on the board is still here, Mekhi Lemon. He's almost like a second Puka Nacua. Apologies for that. He's got some similarities to Nacua. He's a sort of play on the inside like that. I feel like Davante Adams isn't going to be around for much longer. And also, it's the Rams. They're only picking here because they traded with the Falcons, who drafted a criminal who will probably never play again. So, I could see them trading down like you have them. Some people are saying they're maybe going to take Ty Simpson. Not a chance. Certainly not here. But Davante Adams isn't going to be around forever. So, take Mekhi Lemon. You've instantly got a building block right there to work with. And it's like having 2 Puka Nacuas almost. It's quite a formidable wide receiver room.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Again, he's gone on my board, so that even more incentivizes a trade down for me. But it's a very good option for any team to take, really, especially the Rams. I mean, Jesus. You get Davante Adams, Puka Nacua, Mekhi Lemon in a receiver room, and it's a scary season for the rest of the league. But 14, I'll stop the trades for a minute. The Baltimore Ravens on the clock, Max. And I mentioned it before about the Giants could take him at 10, but I don't know how much further he will fall. This is how far I've gone forward, and I've gone for Vega Ione out of Penn State, the offensive guard, to go to the Ravens. I feel like they've lost so much this offseason, half of it to the Giants, funnily enough, including Harbaugh. But I feel like just build with what you've got, give some Lamar some more protection, and I think Aone is arguably potentially one of the best offensive guard / tackle prospects, and definitely the best guard prospect in the entire draft. As I said, I wouldn't hate the Giants even taking him at 10, but I think this is where he'll fall to the Ravens at 14. So I'm going with Vega Aone to really shore up that Ravens offensive line that has lost a couple of players in the offseason.
We agree again. And okay. I've had this one penciled in for a while, pretty much since the Linderbaum trade to the Raiders. I just think it makes the most sense, and he's definitely the best interior offensive lineman on this board by a mile.
Was it a trade?
Huh?
Was he traded? I thought was he not just a free agent?
Linderbaum, I thought he got traded to. Well, either way, they lost him.
Yeah,
I thought he got traded to the Raiders, but you might be right actually.
I have no idea. I'm pretty sure because I think we nearly signed him as well, and we definitely wouldn't have traded for a center.
You might be right, but either way, they haven't got him. So get someone back. I mean, the guards before they lost Linderbaum, who is a center, weren't good. So yeah, protect Lamar Jackson, like you said. Build around the offensive line. 15, the Buccaneers are on the board. This is a tough pick, I think.
I was going to say, I really this one took me on my two different mock drafts. I went differently.
I went with an interesting one, mainly because of his age, and I feel like that could give away who it is.
It does.
I've gone with Akeem Mesidor here, who is an incredible player, but he's 25 right now. He's not turning 25 when the season starts. He's 25 right now as a rookie. He's old, so he's probably going to have a shorter career than you get out of drafting someone who's 21 right now. But he's very
on the edge.
But he is very good, and I feel like the Bucs might have a bit of win now mentality after last season. They might want to get straight back into the playoffs and stuff like that instead of whatever the last season's disappointment was. So getting a player like Mesidor can give them an instant boost instead of a gradual sort of development boost. That's the only thought process I have behind it. There's some noise about Kenyon Sadiq here, but I just think K. Dalton's perfectly fine, and they re-signed him, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think there's any need to take a tight end here.
Funny you say that, Max. So in my two mock drafts, first one that I had Mesidor here, and I've gone back through it, and I just can't see how you can pass up on a prospect like Kenyon Sadiq. I get they don't necessarily need it more than anything, but if you go off the argument you said they want to just get back into the playoffs, win, this is an instant impact tight end who will be one of the better tight ends in the entire league straight away, in my opinion. This is just one of them prospects where I feel like if he's there and you're even slightly a tight end needy team, you have to take him. So I'm going with Kenyon Sadiq. I just can't see him falling this far, much further than this, with how good he is and how good he's been, especially throughout the playoffs where he was so impressive. So I'm going with Kenyon Sadiq to the Bucs. And Mesidor I could absolutely see. As I said, I literally mocked it about 3 hours before we recorded this, and then about 20 minutes before we recorded this, I changed it. But I'm going Kenyon Sadiq to the Buccaneers. I just don't feel like
I could justify it. Mainly because
one of the few teams who I can justify that pick.
Mainly because of the reason that you could probably play Sadiq and Otton at the same time, especially if you've got. I mean, they've lost Mike Evans obviously, and they often have receiver injuries. So I feel like Sadiq is sort of not the typical big tight end build. You could probably play him like in the slot, maybe as like a power slot guy, and also have Otton on the field at the same time. So I could kind of understand it. I just thought that Mesidor was a slightly better pick for them there. We'll move on to 16 with the Jets' second pick. I went Arvell Reese with the first one. You went David Bailey?
David Bailey.
Yes. So we both sort of went edge here. Who have you gone with the 16th pick?
So we said, get the defense out of the way, the first one. Now I think it's time to focus on the offense. And I've gone Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana as the pick for the Jets at 16. Maybe a little bit higher than people think he might go, but I think he's the next best wide receiver in the class. I like players like Casey Conception. I think Denzel Boston as well is an interesting prospect, but I've seen him mocked a few times to the Jets, Omar Cooper, and I feel like this playoff campaign only boosted his sort of PR and his draft stock, and I think that's who they'll take at 16. I just feel like they need an offensive weapon for whoever's throwing the ball for New York this season. Have they signed anyone? I've completely forgotten.
Geno Smith is there, right?
Oh, yeah, Geno Smith. There you go. So Geno Smith, get him a weapon because he's coming off a rough year. He's going to need some, just a reliable pair of hands. And if anything, that's what Omar Cooper is. He will just run routes and catch the ball, be a reliable option. I feel that's what all you need is a Jets at this point. Just give someone, you still got Garrett Wilson, so pair him up with Omar Cooper Jr. I think it could be a really nice wide receiver pairing for the Jets going into next season.
I can understand. I mean, like I said near the start of the video, they need everything pretty much.
There's pretty much not a position you wouldn't take for the Jets.
I don't think they could take anyone in this first round and think that's not an improvement on what we've already got.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening. Receiver is an issue. However, they had a huge issue last season that was quite a big headline at the end of the season. They didn't get a single interception in the season. He's fallen further on your board. He's fallen further on a few people's boards, but I feel like Jamod McCoy is, even with the injury concerns, a far better corner than they already have on that roster, especially based off his 2024 tape. Obviously, he didn't play last year, so we have nothing to go off of. He's had some workouts recently, but they had no interceptions last season, like none, not a single one. And obviously, they got rid of Sauce Gardner to the Colts, which is, we'll see how that plays out. It didn't look like the best trade so far, but we'll see.
At the time,
you did say that at the time, to be fair. So yeah, I'm going Jamod McCoy here. I just feel like it makes some sense.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts have basically given everything away to bet Daniel Jones, which I said was a bad idea, but hey ho. But yeah, I'm going to Omar Cooper. 17, Max. And again, unfortunately, to mess everything up, I'm going back into the trade pool.
Well, I've already had someone move back here.
So I have someone. Let's see if you can work it out based off the package, right? I have someone coming back in who wouldn't pick again if they didn't make this trade. Someone who's already picked, but wouldn't come back in. So I have them given up pick 35, pick 101, pick 184, and a future second rounder. So not too much in the sense of you're not even in the first round, giving up 2 seconds, I believe, a fourth, a fifth to trade up with the Rams.
So on your board, this is the Rams.
So yeah, on my board, this is the Rams who traded down with the Lions.
And now they're trading down again.
I now have the Rams trading out of the first round entirely for more compensation.
I could see that. I don't know if they do it in 2 steps like that, but I could see them just trading out in the first round because they don't need it. We're not used to really seeing them in the first round. They usually just get players for picks.
Yeah, I've gone. So that package, 2 seconds, a fourth and a fifth for the Tennessee Titans to come back into the first round. And with the pick of 17, I have the Tennessee Titans taking Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. I think this is one of them prospects where it's time to take a gamble. I know full well as a Giants fan that Brian Daboll and co, basically every member of staff they took off of us, isn't scared to make a splash, especially in an early season at the team. And I feel like when you go get someone like Freeling, there's concerns. Obviously, he hasn't started much, but in the times he has started, he's been electric. He's been unbelievable on the offensive line for Georgia. He's also athletically brilliant. So I have the Titans coming up here, taking a bit of a gamble, but not giving up too much. I think, you could argue it's a lot for an offensive tackle, but I feel like when a player like Freeling comes in, the upside is insane, in my opinion. So I have the Titans. It was basically, I saw the Rams trading out, but I didn't know who with. And I feel like if anyone was going to make a gamble like this, it would be the Titans, with obviously them having a lot of staff from the Giants. Well, with Carmen Brasillo as well, and the offensive line coach, who was really good with us last year, I feel like this could be a nice little pickup for the Titans. I mean, they get an elite offensive tackle prospect and Arvell Reese in my mock draft, which, for them, that is massive for them moving into next year. Give Cam Ward some protection and, really invest in the trenches, which is what a team like the Titans needs to do, in my opinion. So I've gone with the Titans trading up with the Rams to take Monroe Freeling.
The Titans trading back into the first round is not something I've even remotely considered, but does make a lot of sense. So I can get behind that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You had the Lions. I have them at 17 here.
That is the base draft order. Yeah.
You had the Lions moving up to 13 to get Caden Proctor.
You've got him going at 17.
I've just given them Caden Proctor at 17 because I don't think he'll go before then. I don't have another tackle going before this pick, so I didn't think they needed to jump up for him. I do really like this fit though. because we've seen them do sort of trick plays with tackles, and obviously this isn't why you bring in a tackle. They do need a tackle
Unless
anyway.
you're the Lions.
But we've seen them do sort of trick plays with tackles before. And if you're going to do a trick play with a tackle, Caden Proctor is absolutely the guy because he's a freak athlete. He's built like a brick shithouse. He is enormous, but also freakishly fast and can move very well. There's some concerns about his overall skill, but I feel like you can work on that. You can't teach this kind of size.
He's got the sort of things you can't teach. So
that's exactly. He's got the things that you can't teach, and what he can teach. You can teach him that. And I feel like this is a great offensive line to learn from. He's going to be with Penei Sewell in there, who's arguably the best tackle in the league. So great person to learn off of, and pretty good coaching staff to learn off of. I feel like this pick makes a lot of sense. I just don't think they needed to jump up to do it like you did. But
yeah, I just think for me, when you're not giving up a lot and you don't want to take a gamble, and I could see the Rams potentially taking an offensive line at 13 as well. I think they just love Caden Proctor as a prospect. As you said, he fits them for all the right reasons. So I think for me, they'll just give up a very little amount of compensation just to make sure that he's theirs before they end up with someone maybe they don't necessarily want. So that's the only reason why I've got them doing it, really, just as a precaution in case maybe like the Ravens could potentially take him over Vega Ione if they wanted at 14. So I feel like that could balance it out. So yeah, that's why I've gone a very little trade just to get them safe. So, they're not giving up a lot to make.
I have done something very similar to that that's coming up. When we get to it, 18, the Vikings. We may have gone the same here again because I feel like this is a bit of a consensus pick at the minute. Safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thieneman.
Yeah,
a Harrison Smith replacement, just destined to happen. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And at this point, with the players left on the board, I don't know who else would possibly fit better, unless they preferred Emmanuel McNeil. But I feel like the general consensus at the minute is Thieneman's just a little bit better. So I'm going to take him there.
Yeah, I agree. Basically all the same reasons. It's seen basically, I think every mock draft I've seen has the Vikings taking Thieneman. I think he's the best safety. I don't think McNeil Warren, I think he's only moving up boards in terms of demand rather than ability. I think there's a reason he wasn't necessarily on first round radars for a while. Great player, but I just don't think you need to take him this high. Whereas Thieneman has climbed up boards massively and for a good reason with how much better he got towards the end of that season with Oregon. So I've got the Vikings taking Thieneman. I think it's a pretty slam dunk pick for them if he's still there. Of course, at 18, I feel like they'll definitely take him.
I'm going to go back-to-back Oregon Ducks here. This is my Kenyon Sadiq spot at 19 to the Panthers, and I think it makes the world of sense. I feel like Tommy Tremble, whatever, he's just there. Jatavion Sanders had a hard time adjusting to the NFL. He had a few injuries. I'm pretty sure he landed on his head at one point. I remember seeing that through the season. That was brutal. So he had a bit of time out of injury. There's a lot of people saying they might go wide receiver in the first round for the third year in a row. They kind of are with Sadiq, but it's a bit different. But yeah, I really like this fit. I think it makes the most sense as a landing spot for Sadiq out of anyone else on the board, really. And he has to go in the first round because, like I said before, incredibly talented player. It's just an interesting position that not a lot of teams value. So yeah, Kenyon Sadiq at 19 to the Panthers.
I said I had more trades come in, and I've got another one here.
Jesus.
And I got another team trading up in this situation. So I would have the Panthers obviously giving up pick 19 to get pick 28 and 69 in the trade from the Houston Texans. And I think with the 19th pick, the Houston Texans are going to take Spencer Fano. As I said, it would be a huge jump for him to come to here. He'd be my fourth offensive tackle, well, slash guard, obviously with Vega Ione going a bit earlier. But I go with Fano here. I just think he's fallen down my board a little bit just because of how good people like Freeling and Proctor have been, especially how well they tested at the combine as well. So for me, with someone who didn't have the best combine, Spencer Fano, I still think he's a really good tackle. I think the Texans will recognize that. And I think when he's there at 19, you only give up, a third round pick to be able to go and get him. I feel like it's a no-brainer that you go and make that trade. And you take, I just don't think the Panthers desperately need anyone in this situation. I feel like there's players they can get who will be there all the way down at 28 where the Texans currently sit. So for me, I have got Spencer Fano to the Houston Texans at 19, which will be my last trade. for a while, but not the last one in the draft.
Based on who I have going at 28, I could see the Panthers taking him if they were at that spot as well. So I can sort of get behind that. I just didn't want to throw this many trades in because I couldn't be bothered, but you clearly have.
Yeah.
So this is on to my next trade, actually, as I've just said that. So we got the Cowboys at 20 here. And I think the my Cleveland Browns, are going to jump up a few spots to jump the Steelers, who I think will also try to take a tackle, because there's a tackle on the board that maybe, I don't know if we'll do this. This is kind of like with your second Giants pick where you did something you wanted to do. This is what I want to do. Monroe Freeling is still on the board. We need a left tackle. He is a left tackle. We need to make sure we can get him if he's in range here, and we wouldn't have to give up a lot with the Cowboys to get him. And I also feel like the player that I've taken for the Cowboys, which I won't spoil now, they could get him further down than they would if they just took him now. So they don't really lose anything here. They just gain, and we get Monroe Freeling, who I would really like. So, yeah, Monroe Freeling at 22, the Browns.
I've got the Cowboys sticking, and for a player who you mentioned a few picks ago to go to the Cowboys, and this is going to really hurt me because if they get Styles and this guy in the same draft, they've done really, really well. Akeem Mesidor, I think, will be the pick for the Cowboys for 20 if he's still there. Doubling down on defense, obviously need an edge rusher. With the absence of Micah Parsons last year, it was sort of evident that they were struggling on the edge. So I get Mesidor as that he's a bit older, but I feel like he's going to be an instant impact player rather than a player you're going to need to wait a couple of years for from production. I feel like you'll get production straight away from someone like Mesidor, who's obviously old enough, 25 for a rookie. But I think they can't not take him if he's there at 20. You feel like he could go higher up with the Bucks as well, which I wouldn't be surprised about. As I said, I'd literally mocked it myself. But in the second mock, he falls a bit further, and I have the Cowboys sticking at 20 and taking Mesidor. But 21, you mentioned the Steelers. Obviously, you said he might take a tackle. I'll kick us off because I do have them taking a tackle, but obviously on my board, Monroe Freeling is gone. So I haven't taken Caleb Lomu. The other Utah tackle goes just one pick in between him and the other one. I feel like they need offensive tackles. Whoever's under center, if it is 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers or if they give someone like Will Howard a go, either way, you've got to protect them. And I feel like it's the safest pick just to get someone on that line and protect them. Lomu is a great prospect. There's lots of good offensive tackle prospects in this draft, even guards as well. There's probably the most highly guard prospect I've seen in a long time. But I think they go for a tackle, and I have them taking Caleb Lomu at 21.
Lomu is someone I like, and if we were taking tackle at 24, which probably will happen, I don't think we'll do the trade that I've said, but I'd like it if we did. I would take Lomu at 24 if I was the Browns, but in this world, obviously, we've traded up. We've got Freeling. And like you said, I think the Steelers will take a tackle here, so we'd kind of jump in our bitter rivals. So, yeah, I've got them taking Blake Miller instead from Clemson. I think I just rate him slightly more than Caleb Lomu here, and he's still on the board. For all the reasons you just said, as far as I'm aware, Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed a contract to play this season. As of yet, I don't think anyone knows what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. I don't think he knows. I don't think the Steelers know. So is it going to be Will Howard? Are they going to bring in a veteran? I don't know. But they've got to protect whoever is playing there. Get Blake Miller in there. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. 22, the Los Angeles Chargers on the board. Max, who have you got them taking with the 22nd overall pick?
This is a player that I'm not massively high on, but there is some upside here, and I feel like I can justify the pick.
I think I know what you're going to say based on what you've just said.
This player is listed as an edge, and he is an edge. But I feel like this player should be played, and in this defensive scheme, could be played as an interior sort of 3-4 end, a slightly undersized one, because his run-stopping ability is incredible. His pass rush just isn't quite there. Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. I'm not massive on him, I won't lie. It was either him or maybe they take safety here, or possibly line. But yeah, Keldrick Falk, to me, I feel like if you just play him as sort of a 3-4 interior defensive end, he could seriously do some damage. He just needs to work on his pass rush, really, because he's a very good run stopper. The pass rush just isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's coming off a season with 2 sacks, which isn't ideal. But at the same time, I feel like the potential is huge on a player like Kendrick Falk. I agree. I also have him going here to the Chargers at 22. I just feel like with Falk, as you said, he was a lot higher on board than earlier in the draft process, and now with certain players like Messidor who's flown up the boards and players like that, he sort of gets displaced a bit. But I just think they need depth. They've lost Odafe Owe as well, so they're going to need a new edge rusher. So I think they will take Falk. I think it's a safe pick in a way of upside. They need. So it's definitely going to be edge rusher depth no matter what. But I said you could play him on the interior. I feel like there's a little versatile option, which is nice to have as a team like the Chargers who want to compete. So yeah, a bit of a downside season, which has dropped him off boards a bit, but I still think it'll be a decent pick for the Chargers at 22. The Philadelphia Eagles, Max, at 23. My most hated franchise. Who do you have them taking at 23?
There's a few ways they could go here. They could also trade down, but I haven't got them doing that. A lot of rumors circulating about AJ Brown's future. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors saying he might be a Patriot. Who knows where he's going to go, but it does sound like he's leaving. So, Omar Cooper Jr. is still on my board, a player I like very, very much. I feel like they've got to take him in this position. Even if AJ Brown's staying, they could take him as like a third option. But he's a very talented receiver. Been playing with, obviously, Mendoza this year, so pretty good quarterback play to back that up as well. It makes a lot of sense to me. It could maybe go tackle, but I don't know if anyone here is better suited than Omar Cooper Jr. for me.
I have them going tackle, and I feel like Lane Johnson's getting on a bit now. You want a player who can maybe sit in the wings for a year as a tackle to then come in and really sort of take over from Lane Johnson when he does decide to retire. Now, obviously, this guy didn't even start playing the sport until 2022, but the upside is absolutely massive. I feel like, I can't see many offensive tackles with higher upside than this guy. Again, the floor is obviously really low because he's still very new and he's still learning. But Maxi Iheanacho out of Arizona State is the pick here for me at 23. I just feel like the upside is huge. Lane Johnson is 36, I believe, in like a month or two. So
I thought he was older than that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought he was closer to 40.
I think he is getting to a point now where he's not going to have many years left, especially at the level that he plays at. So for me, I think for the Eagles, they're known for good drafting, and I think Harry Roseman knows a good player with upside. And when you have the option to sit someone like this behind someone like Lane Johnson, learn off someone like Lane Johnson, for a player who is still learning in terms of the sport, I feel like this is the perfect pick. You take the high upside guy who needs to learn a bit, and then you phase him in gently. And I feel that's what they'll do. So I've gone with Maxi Iheanacho at 23 to the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can definitely see that happening. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Leeds lineup. I'm a bit distracted here. Why have we started that many? Right, okay, never mind. Different question. Anyway,
Wrong
so
football.
you went with wrong football. You've gone with Maxi Iheanacho. I can get behind that. So you've got the Browns here.
Yeah, I do have the Browns.
I've got the Cowboys stay with the trade down with the Browns, obviously. This is a player that they could have taken at 20 for me, but I feel like he will still be on the board here, like I said. CJ Allen. Obviously, you've got them taking Sonny Styles, so they've already kind of filled that gap for you. But linebacker is still a need for them on my board. CJ Allen is definitely the next linebacker. There's a bit of a fall off after Sonny Styles, but this guy's the leader of the Georgia defense. They could use someone like that. He's very capable, quicker than the people give him credit for, I'd also say. And I feel like it's a pretty solid pick for Dallas.
Yeah, I got the Browns. And now you've spoken about offensive tackle being a need, but
Whoa. What are you doing?
No. But with Kevin Zeeler and Joe Bitonio also gone, I feel like you need a guard just as much, if not more, than you need a tackle. So I've got Emmanuel Pregnan out of Oregon as the pick for the Browns 24. This is purely because basically all the tackles are gone, bar Blake Miller. That was my other option. I was really weighing these two for a while, but I feel like with both your star guards now gone, if you can get like a young guy on the guard who
I do need to correct you. You said Kevin Zeitler. He left a long time ago. Wyatt Teller is the one that left.
Wyatt Teller, sorry. But again, you lose two massive players on your offensive line. So for me, I think you stack it up here with Pregnan. I feel like the tackles, I don't know, the whole line is garbage, if we're putting it politely, at the precise moment in time. It's not great. I feel like you need an offensive line player here no matter what. If you don't take someone like Maui Gower at 6, I feel like this is where you drop down to. So I got you taking Pregnant of Oregon, a great guard. I feel like, as I said, another player who's shown up, especially this season, which is why he's filling up draft boards in a very good Oregon team. And I feel like, as I said, you need a guard desperately. And I feel like this is a nice pick for you to sort of slot straight in and be that starting guard.
You scared me then, because I thought you were just going to stray from offensive line.
No, it has to be offensive line. It absolutely has to be offensive line.
I'd be happy with Pregnon. I do like him. Not in my first round mock draft on this one. I mean, we could, if he's not the way my bold lies, we could possibly take him very high in second, and I'd be over the moon if we got him, Freeling, and Jordan Tyson. So maybe I am just giving us what I want us to get, and that's not really how this is going to work. Who we're moving on to now? The Bears, the Chicago Bears, bear down. Big fans of the Bears on this podcast, or at least me and Kian are. We spoke about him already briefly. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo is my pick here. They've lost Kevin Byard, right?
Yeah.
And he's coming off quite a big season. They're going to need someone to fill in that gap. There you go. Perfect. I'm quite high on McNeil-Warren. He's, like I said before, Feeneman's just that little bit better. But McNeil-Warren is right there. His name is a mouthful to say, so I'm going to stop trying to say it so much. EMW. We're calling him EMW. Yeah. So he's my pick for the Bears. Perfect replacement for Kevin Byard.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've gone still defense. I'm going to play who maybe some people might not have on their boards in the first round, but I'm going to take him here. I've gone Peter Woods at 25 to the Bears. It gives them a sort of breed of a D-tackle / edge rusher option, a bit like Keldrick Folk in a way, but I feel like more of a D-tackle than an edge rusher nowadays. I think, again, didn't have the best season, was higher on people's boards maybe, but again, high upside for the Bears defense. I feel like you can't really miss here with the defensive options available. Wouldn't hate McNeil-Warren here. I'll spoil it. He is not in my first round draft, McNeil-Warren. He just falls out, unfortunately. Just don't think there's a safety who doesn't go to the Bears. I don't see him going for the rest of the first round. So for me, with Peter Woods being the pick for the Bears, I don't see him going. So yeah, speed things up. Peter Woods out of Clemson is my pick for the Bears at 25. 26, the Buffalo Bills. Max, who have you got them taking?
This could have been defense. This could have been Emmanuel McNeil-Warren if he was here for me. However, I feel like they are dying for a player like Casey Concepcion in this offense. Even with the addition of DJ Moore, they're different players. I don't think they're going to play the same role. You need a player who can get down the field, get open, turn on the afterburners and go. They don't really have that in the receiver room right now. So I feel like it's a very good pick. He's been doing interviews recently. He sounds like a very confident player, which I like. And I think the Bills will like too, as a team that are quite, I don't even know how to explain it. They're quite a tough team, hard-nosed, gritty team. They'll like a player like that. So, yeah, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M.
I'm sticking defense for the Buffalo Bills, and I feel like this is a sensible pick. I've got Cassius Howell at Texas A&M on the edge as the pick for the Buffalo Bills. I think edge is their biggest need over wide receiver. I feel like I don't know.
What do you mean? They got Bradley Chubb.
So they need an edge rusher. Yeah, I just think Howell's a great prospect in a way. Again, certain things where I'm not sure on him, which is why he's fallen on other people's board. But for me, I think the Bills will take the risk. They need an impact player on defense badly with Bosa. Is Bosa now gone?
I'm honestly not entirely sure.
I think it's in my head that Bosa's gone. I don't know why. I could be wrong. But either way, they still need another.
He did sign a short-term contract, I believe.
Either way, they need another impact player on defense. So I've gone with Cassius Howell out of A&M to be the pick for the Bills. As I wouldn't be surprised if it's a wide receiver like Casey Concepcion, even Denzel Boston. But I feel like they won't make the same mistake twice with Denzel Boston that they did with Keon Coleman. So I've got Bosa. I think Bosa might still be high. I don't know, to be honest. My head.
He's a free agent. Joey Bosa is a free agent.
Free agent, nigga. So yeah, with him gone as well, they definitely need an impact player on defense. So I've got with Cassius Howell as the pick for the Buffalo Bills. Pick 27, the San Francisco 49ers. Max, who have you got?
Cassius Howell. For all the reasons you just said.
Yeah.
And also, this could have been an offensive lineman, but with the way the ball's fallen, I don't really like anyone in this spot apart from maybe Ian Atchor. who we will get to on my board eventually. So also they re-signed Trent Williams, so he's going to be around for a bit longer. And Bryce Huff shock retired. He's like 27 or something. He's shock retired. I feel like Howell is a very similar player, sort of a designated pass rusher, free down player. I've said it before, I'm not massive on Cassius Howell, but for the role he plays, I think it's a good fit for the 49ers. So I'm going to go with Cassius Howell here.
Yeah, again, for the same reasons you mentioned it. This is where I have Blake Miller falling to. I feel like they need offensive line help. It's no secret that Trent Williams isn't getting any younger. They finally did sort that situation out. But at the same time, again, he's nearly there now for the end of his career. So I think you get someone to maybe not even start straight away, but even so, if he does, you still have him sitting behind Trent Williams, who's one of the best to ever do it in his position. So I think it's a safe pick going offensive tackle. So I have the 49ers going Blake Miller. 28. Now, this is where you have the Houston Texans. This is where I have the Panthers after their trade down with the Texans in my potential one. So I'll go first. It was a toss-up. Casey Conception or Denzel Boston. I've gone Denzel Boston. I feel like that gives them two massive wide receivers in height measurements with him and Terrell McMillan. I feel like that transforms the game for the Panthers. I feel like Boston's got higher upside than Concepcion, but at the same time, again, either pick here, I don't think it's very much just like flip of a coin for me with them two. I'm going Boston. I just feel like there's slightly more upside to his game than Concepcion. So I've got the Panthers taking Denzel Boston after a trade down with, getting a nice pick later in the third round as well. So I have Denzel Boston going to the Panthers.
You keep picking players just slightly before I've picked them. However, I'll get onto this, but I'm going to make a swap with 29 and 30, but we'll get to that. The Texans here on my board. It's not a trade, by the way. I'm just swapping which player I've picked because they could fit either team.
Okay, right.
We'll get to it. Caden McDonald is my pick for the Texans here. Texans, this could be a trade down spot. However, they do have, obviously on your board, they've traded away a bit to get up to 19. But they do have some decent draft capital in this draft, and I feel like they could get other players like a tackle further down. Caden McDonald, for me, is the best interior defensive lineman in this draft. I think he's better than Peter Woods. He's the only one I've got going in the first round. Maybe it's Buckeye bias. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like there's just been a lot of fall off with players like Peter Woods, Caleb Banks. I feel like people aren't as high on them as they once were. Caden McDonald's still there for me. And I feel like he fits the Texans quite well. Get him on that D-line that's already quite formidable. Just makes it better for me.
Yeah. It makes sense. I understand it, to be fair.
And I also think that the Panthers could take him on your board, but obviously receiver kind of makes sense too.
Yeah. Number 29. Now, there's a name that you drafted a while ago who you probably noticed has still not come off my board yet. I don't know if you can guess who that might be. Jamord McCoy. As a Tennessee fan, this might seem insane because I love him. I think he's great, but I think that knee injury is really going to put people off. But I think the Chiefs are going to get an absolute steal. I think as much as I could see them going wide receiver because they need it, I also think if a player of Jamord McCoy's sort of ability is there at 29, you just simply cannot say no to a player like that. So for me, I've got the Chiefs taking a gamble on Jamord McCoy at 29. They've just lost McDuffie to the Rams. They need corner help. And I feel like for me, this is a huge positive draft. If they take either McCoy or Concepcion, pairing them with Ruben Bain is a really, really nice draft for the Chiefs. So I'm going with Jamord McCoy to double down on defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. But again, I assume you'll go wide receiver here, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, this is what I was talking about. So I'm going to do 29 and 30 as just in one go here to explain what I've done and why I'm changing it. So originally on this mock draft, I have Denzel Boston going to the Chiefs here because I feel like he's just a different type of receiver to what they
I know what you've done now. You've given the Dolphins a wide receiver because you realised you cocked up earlier.
And also the person that I've taken, so for the Dolphins, I've taken Avion Terrell, who's a corner I really love. However, I'm going to switch those two picks. So I'm giving the Chiefs Avion Terrell, and I'm giving the Dolphins Denzel Boston because both make sense, but that probably makes more sense to me now that I've thought about it because I forgot about the Jalen Waddle trade and forgot that the Dolphins have no receivers whatsoever. So
no
Denzel Boston to the Dolphins at 30 and Avion Terrell here at 29 to the Chiefs.
Yeah. I've gone Avion Terrell at 30 to the Dolphins.
It made sense.
Consensus pick. I feel like, could they trade up for McCoy one spot with the Chiefs? I wouldn't be surprised. In that case, you'd have the Dolphins taking McCoy, and then I'd probably go the Chiefs taking KC Conception at 30. But if it does stay the same, which I just don't think they'll do that, it's interesting because McCoy's going to be like, I can't remember who it was last year who fell massively. It's going to be Will Johnson. I think it's going to be a similar situation. But yeah, I've gone Avion Terrell to the Dolphins if Joe McCoy does go off the board. Slightly before, they need DB help. I've already got them taking Jordan Tyson, so for me, it would be a bit of an overkill to take 2 receivers in the first round. So I'm going Avion Terrell at 30 for the Dolphins. Great cornerback. I think just a consistent option that you need. And coming out of Clemson, I feel like he is going to be a nice little pickup for the Dolphins. It will be a good first-round draft taking Tyson and Terrell on my board.
I'm annoyed that he's gone to the Chiefs on mine because I really like Terrell, and now I'm going to have to root against him. But I'm just looking here because our first mock draft went in hour 28 with all 3 of us, and we've nearly reached that now. We're just 2.
I know.
We are really yapping here, but we are getting towards the end of it now. So
pick 31 New England. Yeah, pick 31. The New England Patriots, the Super Bowl runners-up, of course. At 31, Max, who have you got?
This could have been a trade spot. It could have been. And there is one more trade in my draft, and it's not this, so I'll let you figure out who's trading.
Funnily enough, there is also one more trade in my draft, and it's not this either.
Right. Well, I feel like we've done the same thing with 32. I'm not going to lie. Maybe the team won't be the same, but I think we've done the same thing. For the Patriots here, I think offensive line help, as we saw in that Super Bowl game, they could use with it. Protect Drake May, protect your investment there. Maxi Iheanacho is still on my board. I said we'd get to him. Here he is. Feels like a very, very good pick. Like everything you said about him, he's a very raw talent, but the potential is through the ceiling. So makes a lot of sense for the Patriots. For me, who have you got?
This is where I have KC Conception out of Texas A&M. I feel like they'll be happy still here on my board anyway. I feel like they can't pass up on him. It gives them a wide receiver option. As much as AJ Brown could be coming in, I still don't even hate the fact of them doubling down because you then get a reliable slot guy, which I don't really think they have, to be honest, at all. You know, if you look at their receiver options, who have they got? Diggs, who's gone?
I would assume that if they do go and get AJ Brown, they wouldn't have this pick.
Yeah, there is also that world. If they get AJ Brown, this pick may not even be theirs. This might be the Eagles back on the clock, in which case.
But I mean, they're going to have to make that trade pretty soon. Knowing our luck, they're going to make this trade in the next 10 minutes when we've stopped.
Yeah, probably. But again, if the Eagles make that trade, probably could take Conception here as well. So with AJ Brown at the door, I wouldn't hate that pick either. So either way, I think I'm going to go KC Conception. I just feel like he's too good of a player to pass up on. Could have the Patriots then with Concepcion and AJ Brown.
Jesus. Every time we record, I just develop a cough. I don't know why.
So, yeah, for me, it could change. I said if AJ Brown is traded, then it might be the Eagles on the clock. Or if there's Patriots are somehow still here, then I would probably go someone else. But as of right now, they haven't done that. So I'm going with KC Conception to the Patriots.
The Super Bowl champions at 32.
And neither of us have them picking.
We have definitely done the same thing. Is it with the same team? I'll get mine out of the way first. I have the Seattle Seahawks trading down 2 spots to 34 with the Arizona Cardinals, who are going to trade up to 32 and take Ty Simpson in the first round to make sure that they get that 5-year extra 5th-year option by taking him in the first round. Otherwise, they would have probably just taken him at 34, but that's an extra bonus. I don't think it'll cost a lot to trade up 2 spots. It is a divisional rival, but are the Super Bowl champions really going to be that bothered about their rivals getting Ty Simpson? I don't know, but I just feel like the Cardinals, Kyler Murray's not playing quarterback. Is it Jacoby Brissett? I think they brought in Gardner Minshew. That's nothing to be too excited about. Even if Ty Simpson comes in to be on the bench behind one of those veteran QBs, I'm assuming Brissett's still there. I don't really know. Ty Simpson for the Cardinals at 32 with a slight trade up.
So,
Have you gone Jets here?
no. And I've
No.
not gone the Cardinals either. Now, if you remember, I made a trade with a team out of the first round. And in that package, they gained pick 35. And I have them trading pick 35 and a fourth round pick, which they also get from the Titans in that trade, with the LA Rams to come back into 32, trade up 3 spots, only get up a fourth round pick, and the pick that they only acquired from the Titans probably about, the day before this, obviously, with the day 2 picks happening that. So on the same day, I think they're going to trade back in again. So 3 trades for the Rams.
I'm going to say the Rams can't sit still, man. They've got ants in their pants.
And I have them given pick 35 and a fourth round pick to the Seattle Seahawks to take Ty Simpson at 32. There's no secret Matt Stafford is not getting any younger. And what better quarterback to mentor your next up-and-coming quarterback? They've been massively high on Simpson. A lot of people have said this is a team that will probably take him. And I think if they do get, as I said, if it all works out in the way that I have it to, they end up with pick 35 from the Titans, and then they can trade back in with that pick, only give up a fourth rounder, and still get Ty Simpson, and still have got a decent amount of compensation for trading all the way down in the first place. I feel like the Rams will be really, really happy with that. Don't necessarily need anyone, in my opinion, that urgently. So I feel like with I said, had they not traded for McDuffie, probably would have gone corner, but they have. So I don't think they need anyone. So I'm going Rams with the third trade of the day, with the picks they acquired from the Titans trade, so with the fourth rounder from Tennessee and pick 35 that they received in that trade. I have them taking Ty Simpson with the last pick in the draft.
You've gone with a very hypothetical draft here, James. You need a lot of pieces to
the only thing that needs to happen I think the only thing that could not happen is I think that the Rams will trade down a bit, but not with someone like the Titans. They'll trade down later in the first round. If they go to 17 like I predicted, I could see them taking Simpson there genuinely because they know the Steelers are lurking at 21.
The Steelers could be another spot for him. I don't think they'll trade.
I feel like they could even trade as far as down as 20 just to keep one ahead of the Steelers. But I feel like when knowing 17, the Steelers aren't going to give up any capital like that to go up to 16 and take Ty Simpson off of them. So we saw it with last year. The Rams were going to take Jackson Dart, and we said, nah, we're coming up, and we took him, thank God. And I think they feel the same way about Ty Simpson. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sort of Tennessee trade didn't happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Simpson went at 17 either. And I feel like the Rams just stick and take him because they don't need anyone. But for me, yeah, the only hypothetical that needs to happen would be the Titans coming back in. And then that gives, obviously, the Rams a high second round pick, which they can use to go back into the late first round. But yeah, that's what I've got going in the last round.
Very, very interesting ends to the draft there.
Yeah, interesting. But that is it. Our last mock draft. We promised you'd have more than one. You got 2 this year, so maybe next year you get 3. Who knows?
Oh, you're asking for a lot there, buddy. 3?
Maybe. Well, should we just go up one every year? By year 10, they'll have a fucking great time with 10 mock drafts.
So. We're going to be doing this in 10 years.
Yeah, why not?
Right, we'll see about that. We'll certainly see about that. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I wouldn't be surprised if half of you have unsubscribed by now because we're an inactive channel that haven't uploaded in like 3 months. But we're back. Me and James are back, at least. Fuck Ian. He had other things to attend to, like work. All right. Of course he did, buddy. So
we should have more videos coming, but maybe only a couple for the draft. But then obviously the season comes back in September, so we'll lean more towards there and you'll see more stuff.
You can definitely do a reactionary draft video reacting to who our teams took, the first.
We'll probably do like a grading situation. Like we'll grade each pick maybe in the first round and stuff like that, or grade teams' overall draft classes, etc.
As long as we do it before you and Kian fuck off to America, then we can probably get that sorted. But that'll be the end of this video. It feels weird me doing the outro. You usually do the outro. I do the intro. And you do it. I don't like it.
Do you want me to do it?
You do it. I don't like it. It's weird. I do that. I'm the friendly face at the start. You're the one who gives the bad news that the video's over.
I know. Thank you, everyone, for watching. As always, obviously, so now we should be a bit more active now for a couple of months away, but definitely not the rest of this week because me and Kian have a dissertation during a week I should be doing right now. But hey ho, we're here doing this instead. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.